Hi guys, good evening. Welcome everybody. So nice to see some of you online again. Sorry, I was a minute late, so I'm just trying to tidy my desk. By this time of the afternoon, it's in a mess. Okay. And I'm just waiting for the last couple of people to join us as they log on. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the last couple of people to log on, just so I don't waste your time, the session is being recorded, so it will be uploaded afterwards if you need to re-listen to anything, or for obviously those who are not online right now. It's not going to be a very long session tonight. We'll finish, where are we now, 5:30. We'll finish at about 6:15, 6:20, so just less than an hour. And then if you guys do have any questions that we don't get to tonight, then I'll record another video for you or put it in the announcements if there's anything that we don't answer. So obviously I've got a list of a few things that I want to cover tonight to keep us going through the semester. So today is Monday, and today is the first day of week 7 of the semester. Sorry, not 7, 8. I can't count. I was just going to say, I know we're halfway, and 7 is not halfway. Week 8 of the semester. So we are officially today halfway through the semester already. So that kind of just gives you a little bit of a grounding of exactly where we are right now and where you should be. So we done and dusted with our first assignment now. Everybody did super well, like really the results were very good. If any of you are still waiting for results, you will have been one of the students that had late submission, permission for late submission. And I am busy marking those now. I am halfway through them, and I will complete them tomorrow. So possibly tomorrow afternoon, probably maybe Wednesday morning, anyone who's uploaded their assignment, or that if your assignment was uploaded by this morning, Monday morning, it will have been marked, and you'll be able to get your marks either tomorrow afternoon or Wednesday sometime. I'm not allowed to release the marks. That has to be released by national office. So once I've completed the marks and uploaded them, I have to let the national office know, and they check everything, and then they make them available to you. So I can't always tell you exactly when they're going to be released. Okay, so with that being said, we are working our way now. We must now, oopsie, what have I done there? We must concentrate our efforts now on Learning Unit 2 and on those, the learning units that are for Learning Unit 2. So that's going to be Learning Units 3, 4, and 5. So your assignment 2 will be 3, 4, and 5. So just again to get us a fix, your assignment 2 due date is the 11th of May. So just short of a month, more or less, from where we are now. Today is the 17th of April, 11th of May. So just short of a month you've got to do. So 3 chapters that you've got to cover, and within that time also complete your assignment to have it uploaded. We will have our usual NSS, the support session, where I'll give you hints and tips with those documents, and we'll go through the assignment itself online together. And that is going to be on the 3rd of May. That's the day before my birthday. I won't forget that one. Okay, at 6 o'clock. So that is what you should be planning for now. So put that in your calendar. 11th of May, the week before that on the 3rd of May is the NSS. And between now and the 3rd of May, you must have worked your way through Learning Units 3, 4, and 5. So when we have that support session for your assignment 2, you already know what's going on in those learning units so that you are in a position to ask me questions. Ma'am, please explain this. How did they get this amount in this question? I don't understand what they did here. And that allows me to get a fix on where you guys are. Okay. So if it's possible, time allowing, that's what you should be aiming for. Okay. Before I go through any more of the points that I want to cover, has anybody got any questions at all? Anything to do with anything at all? Anything that you want to ask me, that you want to verify, that you want to check? If it's a long technical question as if you're having trouble with the question itself, you can let me know now, and then I will cover that maybe in a separate video or announcement, just so that we don't take a lot of the time on screen now to do that. But it really helps me if you let me know where you need the help, because I won't know what to focus on if I'm not sure where you guys, if there's a particular question or a particular section of the work that you're battling on, let me know so that I can cover that in a recording for you guys specifically. Okay. So the next thing that I wanted to let you know is, now that we're going to be working on LU3, 4, and 5, I have got some other lectures and video uploads and slides on those 3 chapters that I will be uploading for you this week, so that you have got those to work with as well. I didn't upload them beforehand because I don't want to distract you. Assignment 1, we only upload assignment 1 learning unit, so now we're on to learning unit 2, so that will, oh, okay, I see Michelle's just asked me that. Yes, Michelle, that's exactly, yeah, that's exactly what I'll be doing now. I have got recordings for, I should have one for at least one for each of the learning units. And then I have got one where it's actually for the full-time students, a test that they did, and I go through the whole test, and the test will be on those 3 chapters. So that will also give you a chance to have a look at exactly how questions should be worked out for those. Let me just take a quick look at page 163 so I know what you're talking about, Tiana. I can't picture that right now. Oh, the capital allowances. Yes, you won't be expected to memorize that in finance. They will always tell you, if you get it in a question for that particular company, they will tell you which capital allowance the company is entitled to for any particular asset. So I know if you're doing financial accounting, they expect you to memorize the different allowances, but when you do tax, you have to memorize them. Finance, they'll be given to you. Okay. All right. So Michelle's questions answered. Tiana's questions answered. Anyone else? Anything you want to know? So something else I'm going to just quickly pop up on the screen for you is that I want you to definitely print out, and you must start using this document when you are practicing questions, so that you get used to, when you're practicing a question with a question that you've got in the textbook and blank paper in front of you, and you're practicing questions to see if you can do them without looking at the textbook solution, because that's the only way to prepare for exams, is that you must start doing that with the formula sheet next to you. So the formula sheet is the sheet that you will be given that will be attached to the exam. Obviously for the assignment, it doesn't count, because for the assignment, you guys have got your textbooks and everything in front of you. Where it comes to the exams, I'm just going to go to where it comes to the exams, you won't have your textbook available to you, but attached to your question paper will be a formula sheet. So if you have a look at the screen now, these are your present value and future value factors, those 4 pages. those will be attached to the question paper, these tables. And then in addition to that, there are, I think, 2 or 3 pages. Okay, can you see that? Just make it bigger with your little zoom in button if you can't see it on your side. Why I'm saying it's important that you guys print this out and you start working with it now as you practice questions is because you have to get used to which formulas will be provided to you and which formulas will not be on the formula sheet, so that you know which formulas you have to memorize. And then, as you can also see on this formula sheet, they list certain formulas and they have got headings, so they tell you what they are. You'll recognize these from Learning Unit 3 if you've gone through that already. But what you can see here as well is that no keys are provided, which means that you have to know the formula. So in other words, you have to know what does RT stand for, what is PT, what is PO, what is CT, because they give you the formula, but they don't give you the key. Same thing with standard deviation. They give you the 2 standard deviation formulas, but there's no key that goes with it. So you have to know your formulas in terms of what do I use when and what do I use this formula for, and when and what do I use this formula for. And the same thing with coefficient of variation. They give you the formula, but there's no description. So you have to understand and know exactly what that variable stands for and what needs to go in there. And the same thing with the RE. So you get, that's 1 page. Here's a 2nd page. The CAPM comes from Learning Unit 3. Your bond valuation is, what's that, chapter 4, I think. Where's our bond valuation? Let's go back to the contents. Your bond valuation and dividend growth model, variable growth model, these are Learning Unit 4 formulas. And then we start here with FCF and the PE model. Those are Learning Unit 5 formulas. So these are all the formulas that will be provided to you. So Tasneem, yes, I will upload this, the formula sheet. I'll probably put it in your more resources. If I haven't already, I'm not sure, I might already have done it. It will be there so that you can see exactly what the formula sheet looks like. That's critical for the exams. And I am starting to talk about the exams now already, because they're going to creep up on us quite quickly, and you need to know right now how to start preparing for the exam. Okay, so this is a very important point, this with the formula sheet. Okay, so I will be posting about that on announcements, and I'll upload the formula sheet for you so you guys will know what to do with that. Okay, and then the next point that I want to make again before you guys go on and or you probably will already if you've worked on 3, 4, and 5, and I know some of you are because I've had questions, is that you will have realized that you, as students, you will not be able to understand questions on Learning Unit 3 all the way to end of Learning Unit 7 if you do not know your Learning Unit 2 time value of money formulas very well. Okay, so Learning Unit 2 time value of money formulas, what you will pick up as we go through the formulas in bond valuation and share valuation and capital budgeting is that those time value of money formulas, present value and future value of lump sums and annuities and mixed streams of cash flows, are all built into the formulas that we use to value a bond and to value a share and to work out what the value of the future value of a project is that we want to undertake. So you must go back, keep going back to Learning Unit 2 and make 100% sure that you understand exactly when do I use a present value formula, when do I use a future value formula, and how those formulas work. The whole reason with this module, why we do time value of money right at the beginning in Learning Unit 2 is because that is a foundation for the rest of the semester, and also for 3B, Financial Management 3B. Those LU2 time value of money formulas you will use constantly now throughout the rest of financial management as long as you study financial management. So that learning unit is not written off in terms of, you're not going to go and be tested on specifically on future value and present value calculations, but those types of calculations are built into everything else that we as financial managers do in our calculations that we do in to provide information on various investments and assets and projects to our board of directors. Very important to remember that. Okay. Okay, so what else did I want to talk about? One other thing that I wanted to show you guys, and let me just see, have I got the right, well, have I got 3 screens open there? Okay, I'll see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I'm just going to go out of here and I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'm just going to show you on Learn some of those, the learning units, because I've noted from some things that some of the students have said and queries that we've had that they are not sure, or they don't seem to realize how we or you as students must use Learn, the learning unit information on Learn in conjunction with your textbook to best support yourself while you are working through the various learning units. So you should now see that kaleidoscope on your screens, and I am going to go to, hopefully this, yeah, this is the right place. So you should now see my screen, and this is what your learning units screen looks like. So on your main menu over here, I clicked on learning units, and then it takes you to the screen over here where you've got the learning units. So those of you that have already been doing some of your ICE tasks, you would know that you have to come to this screen as a starting point to find your ICE task and to then complete it. But what I want you guys to do is not just to use Learn only for your ICE tasks, but to use it to support your studying as you sit and work through the textbook. So the other point that I want to make, and this is also extremely important for all finance and accounting students, is these EDGE textbooks that we use are purpose written to guide a student through from, let's say, for instance, our learning unit 3 is on risk and return. The way to study this chapter is to go to your textbooks right at the start of the chapter, and you read through that introduction and the definition of risk, and you work through example 3.1, you literally must go page by page, example by example, that then leads through to a question at the end of that particular section. So if you look at LU3, you've got an introduction, we've then got a paragraph on the definition of risk, we've then got an example 3.1, and then that's followed by question 3.1. By working systematically through the textbook like that, you will then understand exactly what we mean by risk in terms of financial management by the time you've completed that. If you guys just go straight to questions at the end of the chapter and you just try and practice questions without working through the chapter, you're going to be, you'll learn some stuff like parrot fashion, but it won't mean anything to you. Now, in finance and accounting, the assessments are very much application-based, which you would have realized from assignment 1. So they don't just repeat questions as they appear in the textbook. You are meant to study the text, understand it, and then be able to apply the principles and the formulas to given scenarios. So if you are going to use Learn, so let's say we're going to study Learning Unit 3, you will open Learn to your textbook to Learning Unit 3, and you'll open Learn to Learning Unit 3 as well. And then you will click on this, and it will then take you into the content. So your very first screen over here for every learning unit will give you the learning objectives for LU3. So this is what you will be expected to be able to do your learning outcomes by the end of this learning unit. Where they say explain and describe and discuss, those are theory questions that can come up in the exams. Where it says calculate, examine, or apply, those are the types of things you will be given a case study for, and that you will then have to be able to do calculations to solve a management accounting problem using the various financial analysis tools that we've got in our learning units. So you know by now also that each of our learning units on Learn is divided into themes. So learning unit 3, we've got theme 1, which is risk and return. So we only have in LU3 just the one theme. Some of the LUs are 2 or 3 themes. Not many go up to 4 themes. 3 is usually the maximum. So the first screen that you come to here will give you some background on risk and return. And also, I must say, this learning unit 3, risk and return, in conjunction with learning unit 2, time value of money, contains fundamental principles that will be applied throughout the whole of third year, through financial management 3A and 3B. Because as a financial manager, all of the calculations that we do, we are continually balancing the return. So we first work out, we run the numbers and we work out what return do we think we will get from this investment or asset or project. And then we have to analyze the risk attached to that project, and we decide between the balance of the return that we're going to get with the risk inherent in that project. Do we advise the company to go ahead and undertake that project or not? So if you look at learning unit 6 and 7, capital budgeting applications and advanced capital budgeting, we are applying time value of money and risk and return on those decisions that we are making in those learning units. The same thing with bond valuations and share valuations, where we are going to decide, should our company invest in this particular bond or in this particular share? We're balancing the return that that share or bond is going to give us with the risk inherent in that particular company for which that bond or the share represents. Okay. So that's the importance of these two, LU2 and LU3. So they give you a few questions and things to think about over here. And if you click on That's Life, it always takes you through to an article online that will give you a little bit of background in a broader sense on risk and return. So in this case, if you can see the heading there, it says Getting Schooled in Risk, the Lessons of Poker. So that's just an article using the game poker to explain risk to you. And those things are worth clicking on and reading, because they honestly will enhance your understanding of these concepts. You can't just learn the calculations without understanding the background. So that is another point that I want to emphasize, is that as finance students, you will never pass finance if all you're going to do is watch somebody else talking on a YouTube or watch somebody else doing a question and then reading your textbook and thinking, okay, now I've got it, I understand it. The only way you'll pass finance is by doing what we've described, but only after you can do that first, watch other people doing things and watch videos, etc. And when you've done that and you understand it and you've worked through the textbook, you then go to the questions in the textbook, and I will provide you guys with other exam type questions as well to practice with. And you then sit with blank paper and the question paper, and you practice doing those questions without looking at a solution over and over and over again, the same question, until you understand it and until you can get it 100% right in a short amount of time. Because remember, your challenge in the exam is that you are going to be expected to complete questions within that 3-hour time limit, with no solution in front of you, just the questions and whatever knowledge and practice you've built up in your own brain. So by practicing, you are going to build those neural pathways so that when you sit there in the exam, that pathway is well worn and you can quickly go and decide what method you're going to use to answer the question, and you know exactly what to do and you can get it down quickly. And then even if your calculations aren't 100% correct, you will still get 80 or 90% for that question, because we method mark in finance, which means we want to see in your answer that you understand how a question should be approached and what method you should use to work the solution out, rather than can you mathematically get the answer 100% correct. Okay. So we clicked through, remember here, to theme 1, risk and return. So here we've then got some more information. And then every time you see text in the blue, if you click on that, it will take you through also to some kind of link or video or article online, where it will then show you more information about that to help you to understand what does that term mean. So risk averse, risk neutral, risk seeking. And then they always will give you some other videos to watch or other articles to read. So, and they are important. These are not here just for show and to fill up the pages. These are really well chosen to enhance your understanding. So there you've got 3 more articles to read. And then here we have got a short video, 5 minutes, that will explain the concept of risk. So you can see there's a lot of effort that has been put into presenting on Learn to make sure that the student understands the concept of risk, because I can't emphasize how important it is that you do understand that. And then once you've worked through those and read all of that, you will definitely understand it. And then if you work your way down, Learn, it now says your prescribed work. So go to your textbook, find the rest of the answers, so that what the answers that they're talking about are what is risk, how would you define return, etc. And learn more about risk and return in chapter 3 of the textbook. So at this point, you will go to your textbook, you will read in the textbook the intro, definition of risk, example 3.1 and question 3.1. Okay, and then you have covered risk. Complete question 3.1 and question 3.2. And these questions will assess your overall understanding of risk and return. And then for those 2 questions, you will find the solutions at the back of your textbook. Okay. And then underneath that, we've then got measuring risk. So over here, this is how do we define risk? What is it? Underneath that, how do we measure risk? So then it talks about the 2 different kinds of risk, systematic and unsystematic. And again, it goes through the blue points that will take you back to various definitions. Capital asset pricing model is the most important calculation that comes from Learning Unit 3 right near the end. And then after you've gone through that, find the rest of the answers and learn more in chapter 3 of the textbooks. So at this point, you will then, in your textbook on page 69, read the definition of return. You'll do example 3.2 and you will work through example 3.3, risk preferences on page 70, and then do question 3.3, 3.5, etc. So it's very important that you can see Learn is like a tutor that is sitting next to you at your desk as you work through each learning unit. So you're not just alone reading through a textbook and wondering if you're on the right track. And then, as you probably realized by now, at the end of each theme on Learn, we then have the activities. So in LU3, we only have 1 theme. So you know the activity number, the first unit of the number 3 indicates that it's Learning Unit 3. The second digit 1 means that it's theme 1 within LU3. And then the third one is then the activity number within the theme. So LU3, Theme 1, Activity 1. So in your list of ICE tasks, they are listed there by giving you this number. So using that activity number, you can then see exactly how to find the activity. So in your ICE task lists as well that are posted in your announcements as well as in more resources, you'll see I have typed on there are no links on that upload. You have to come to this learning units section on Learn, go to the relevant learning unit, go to the relevant theme, and then scroll through to find the activity. That's the only way you'll find the activity. And then, as you know, then you click on the activity. If it was an ISTUP, you click on it and it will then tell you how to do it, what to do, what the instructions are, etc. Okay. Honestly, guys, oopsie, wrong screen. I do get very surprised that even at third year level, students don't seem to understand that that's how VC has built this system that's there for the full-time students, but as distance students, it's absolutely invaluable that you use Learn in conjunction with your textbook. And I can assure you that these Edge textbooks are beautifully constructed, that you can sit alone at home just with the textbook, and if you work methodically through the textbook, the text, the examples, and the questions, and you practice the questions, practice until you can do them without looking at the solution. There's no ways that you're going to fail finance when it comes to the exam. Because remember, the exam is going to be a lot more challenging than the assignments when you've got your textbook in front of you. Okay. I know I'm going quickly, but I'm trying to cram in as much as I can in the time that we've got when we're online together. So then, as I said, I have got some slides and some recordings that I will be uploading for you. I'm just going to take a quick look at. Let's have a look. Okay, let's do this bond valuation one now. Let me stop sharing my screen. I want to share the, oopsie. And let's share the slides. So not everything on all of these slides is 100% important. So just some of these slides, I hope I've taken them all out, references to dates. And if page number references in the slides are out of date, remember, if the slide says look on page 60, it might be on page 61 or 62. So don't get too hung up on that kind of thing. Okay, so these are slides on Learning Unit 4, which is interest rates and bond valuation. Module outline, structure of sessions. So again, for each learning unit, there are certain learning objectives, which are the things that you have to be able to do as outcomes in order to get your degree at the end of the time to say, yes, you did pass financial management. So with bonds and bond valuations, you have to be able to understand the key inputs. So that means all the variables that we have to gather together, that we will then input into the mathematical models or formulas that are given to us, so that we can then do a calculation that will allow us to arrive at a valuation for a bond. So remember, as financial managers, it's our job to, using all of these financial analyses and formulas and mathematical tools, to be able to solve problems for our management team and board of directors, that we can present this information to them in an understandable fashion with the calculations, explaining the inputs that we've used, why we used those inputs, where they came from, presenting the calculation to them. And at the end of the calculation, it's vital that we are able to interpret the answer that we got from the calculation, to explain to them what the number means, and then to advise them on what the decision should be. Yes, buy this bond, or no, don't buy this bond. That is the whole process that you as a financial manager will be doing this entire year in 3A and 3B. Collecting information from a case study, sorting the information so that you know which inputs you need to put into whichever basic financial model or formula you decided is the correct one to use for this case study, doing the calculation, interpreting your answer, and making a decision based on what your answer is. Apply the basic valuation model to bonds. Okay. So all of this stuff is in your textbooks in terms of the calculations and the formulas, etc. And if you've understood time value of money, you won't find these ones too difficult. So the first part of your learning unit 4 is all about interest rates. So in Finance 2, you guys did already cover interest rates. And here again, it's a little bit of a refresher on that. This particular formula here, Fisher formula, just take note that that is not on your formula sheet, and they do like to ask that in the exams because they know it's not on the formula sheet, but it is in your learning objectives, and they're testing to see that students have paid attention. Yield curves, this is also a very popular theory question to explain the various yield curves in the different theories. The three theories that we cover in terms of interest rates and how those yield curves, the shape of the yield curve, we do expectations theory, liquidity theory, and market segmentation theory. Those three theory sections, you also have to be able to answer questions in the exams. If you look at past exam papers, which you can download, you'll quickly pick up questions that they've asked there. And then a risk premium, you must also understand the concept of a risk premium, what it is and how we calculate it. It's, I'm not going into that, the calculation of it, because it is quite simple. I'm just trying to, now today's session is just to keep it simple. I can always do a separate little recorded video. Okay, so that's interest rates, and then and your yield curves, etc., and risk premiums. So that takes you to the end of page 101 in Learning Unit 4. So where we are now, Learning Unit 4, the end of page 101 is all the information on your interest rates and all that theory. That's mostly theory. And then on page 103, the theory and the information and examples, etc., all about bonds then begins. So the first section over here, we explain what is a bond. Again, guys, use Learn and those links on Learn to understand as a financial instrument, okay, and also go and look up the definition of that term if you're not familiar. Oh, I can't spell instrument. A bond is a type of financial instrument. A share is a financial instrument. A loan is a type of financial instrument. If you were writing out, which we don't do so much anymore, writing out a check to pay someone, a check is a financial instrument. So again, you'll have these, I will upload these slides, you'll be able to read through them. So first, make sure you understand what is a bond and how does it differ from other types of financial instruments, and how are interest rates linked to us doing a valuation of a particular bond. So again, this is the theory. This all comes, these are summarized slides, summarized points from your textbook. Question 4.3, this will help you to understand the different types of bonds that we do get. And then we will remember in the learning objectives, they were talking about the key inputs. So from, where does this start? From page 105 in your textbooks. And this is also a very important part, page 105. You must understand what the key inputs, so the key inputs means the variables that we will be using in our bond valuation formula. And where will we find this information? So this section over here, starting on page 105, explains that. So your three key inputs are, what are the cash flows attached to the bond? What is the term of the bond? In other words, is it going to be a bond that's going to be last for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years before it expires? And what is the required rate of return of the investor that is wanting to purchase the bond? So you'll have an interest rate attached to the bond itself, which is called the coupon rate. And the coupon rate is the interest that the bond will pay to the bond holder, which means the person who owns the bond, how much interest will they receive while they are the owner of the bond. The required rate of return is what is the interest rate that the holder wants or desires. So the interest rate that the bond is paying and the interest rate that the bondholder desires are not often identical. And because of that, that forms part of the way that we value the bond. That differential between the interest the bond is paying and the interest that the investor requires. That's what determines the value of a bond, in conjunction with how many years is this bond still going to last for? And your cash flows basically are what interest will I earn while I own the bond, and at the very end of the life of the bond when it matures and I get my money back, because a bond is a type of a loan. So at the end of the loan in inverted commas period, you will get your loan capital returned to you. Those are the cash flows attached to the bond. Okay, so those are your key inputs for a bond valuation. So then this is again just coming from the textbook summarized on those three different concepts. And again on the slide it's saying the same present and future value principles are applied in determining the value of a bond. And you should recognize in the bond valuation formula those very formulas themselves. So you'll recognize in the bond valuation formula, there's two calculations that we do that get added together. We do one calculation to calculate the present value of the annuity, which is the interest that the bond will pay to us over the lifetime of the bond. And then we add to that the present value of the lump sum that we receive at the end of the life of the bond when it matures. So the present value of the annuity plus the present value of the lump sum on maturity added together equals the value of the bond. So the bond's two distinct cash flows, the periodic coupon payment and the nominal value of the bond. Those are the two cash flows, which is the one, the periodic coupon payment is the annuity and the nominal value of the bond is the lump sum. And then we break down the formula for the bond valuation, which is on page 106 in your textbooks. Bond valuation formula. And please remember, look at the formula in your textbook and then go and look at your formula sheet so that you know exactly what this formula looks like on the formula sheet, and that you know, is it on the formula sheet or not? Do I have to memorize this formula or will it be on the formula sheet when I'm sitting in the exam room? So this is just breaking down the bond itself. The formula itself. So remember, on your formula sheet, you've got these variables with the formula, but what you don't have is this description of what each of those variables is. So this you have to know. You have to memorize and be familiar with it, because during your study periods, you will have worked with the formula so many times that you know that BO is the value of the bond on the date the present value of the bond, PMT, etc., that you'll know exactly what those represent. You won't know them if you don't practice. Okay. And then work through example 4.5 on page 106, which is taking a very simple bond valuation and the formula and breaking it down and working it through so that step by step you can understand how that formula works. And then on question 4.4 on page 107, you have then got 5 different bonds with different information, and you can then practice 5 times. You will calculate the bond valuation using the formula, and you will then calculate what the value for each of those 5 bonds is, having a look at how the different variables are going to affect what that final bond valuation is. So you shouldn't just be able to calculate the valuation, you should be able to understand that value that you have calculated. And then there is bond valuation over the page on page 110, where there is more than one compounding period in a year. What does the bond valuation formula look like then? So remember, all we're doing is we are incorporating R divided by N and N times M, with M in all of the formulas that we do when it's a small m equaling the number of compounding. When I'm trying to type quickly, nothing works. Compounding periods in a year. So if a bond is if your interest on the bond is going to pay twice a year, then M for Mary will equal 2. If the bond and the interest is going to compound every month, then M for Mary will equal 12. How many times will interest compound in a year? And then right at the end of the chapter, in section 4.5, you've got a very important section there called yield to maturity. And just like all of the other formulas that we get, wherever all of our formulas will have at least 3 variables in them. And as long as we know what 2 of those variables are, we can then solve for the 3rd variable. So in our straightforward bond valuation formula, we are calculating the value called what we call in the formula BO, which is the bond valuation, which is basically the present value of the bond. But within that formula, we have the variable R, which represents the interest rate. So when we are working out yield to maturity, we are solving for the interest rate that we will receive if we purchase a bond. In other words, we will know what the value for BO is. That will be given to us up front in the question. And we will then have to solve for the value of R. If you do remember at the very end of learning unit 2, time value of money, and you will go back, please, to these to this section many times, because we use them all the way through 3A and 3B. This is now LU2. Let me just type it in here in the chat. LU2, page 47, to the end of the chapter. Alternative applications. And if you remember from LU2, that section of the chapter, once we've learned the straightforward time value of money formulas, in alternative applications, we then solve for various variables in the formula. So on page 47, we then solve for PMT. On page 49, we solve for R. On page 51, we solve for R. So in other words, when we are given the future value and the present value and other information, but we want to know what will the return be. You'll remember from your assignment, the very last question on question 3, where they said, how much will the guy have to save away every month in order to save enough money for the shortfall? We had to solve for PMT. So that yield to maturity is then a similar type of exercise. And then at the end of every chapter, you've always got that list of several questions, and then at the very end, you've got the revision questions. And it's vital that you go through all the examples and questions through the chapter, and then at the very end, those revision questions are very important, because those are usually slightly more complicated case studies that are more similar to the type of questions that you get in assignments and exams. Okay, guys, so those are all the things that I wanted to catch up with you and make sure that you understood, and that you've up to date with, and you know how it works, and the kind of hints and tips, the very important hints and tips that will save you lots of time and make sure that you get really good, the best mark possible when it comes to your exam time and working out your assignments. Okay, I've been talking like a freight train now for the last bit, just to make sure I've covered everything. Anyone got anything that they want to ask you guys? Have you guys understood? Has it been helpful? The kind of information that I've covered in this collab, have you found it helpful? Has it been helpful to you? So, and remember all the other things, videos and worksheets and slides, I will upload those for you. Yes, Norman, I did see that, Sham. I noticed that you joined later. It is recorded and it will be uploaded. If not tomorrow, then by Wednesday, I will have uploaded it for you guys. And then, oh no, oh, you're way home late from work. Okay. Awesome, guys. Guys, if it hasn't been helpful, absolutely can tick no on the poll that's on the screen. There's no right or wrong answer, and I'm not looking at who said yes and who said no. It's purely an indication for me to understand more or less whether this is the type of information that is helpful to you or not. If you didn't reply, maybe like Norman, you only came late, so you don't know, and the poll unfortunately doesn't give us a not sure option. It only says yes or no. So yeah, don't forget, you tick no if it wasn't helpful, and then let me know what type of information you want, or if there's anything specific that you want to cover. Okay, so I'll do my best to give you upload and keep more useful information coming your way. Monday the 17th, we've done that. And then the next collab we've got will be the 3rd of May, which will be the NSS for your second assignment. Hi, Milka. Yes, go ahead. You can just open your mic and chat.
Yes, hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I am okay. Yes, I just wanted to find out, is it possible for you to post your recordings on more resources? I understand you do post on YouTube. I've subscribed to the channel, but what then happens is sometimes the stuff that we have, maybe that has been raised on the chat, we cannot like see it.
I know.
The YouTube, so we then get lost at the time when, like, you're now going back and trying to understand when you're explaining what was going on. I don't know. Is there a post? So you can still post on the YouTube, but also can you just like maybe save it on the more resources?
I'm 100% with you there, because I've got that same issue where I use the chat a lot because I think it helps, especially while I'm talking, and you guys can look in the chat to see where I am. But when you're on YouTube, you can't open the chat. And I understand that. But the problem is that we specifically are instructed by VC to upload recordings to YouTube because of a memory space issue if we leave the recordings in Blackboard, or if we post it on more resources. So we must say not allowed in inverted commas. I mean, it makes us sound like kids, but it's a space issue. That's why we can't upload them to more resources. But I have got that question on my list to ask our IT people specifically. Is on YouTube, the students can't see the chat, and for me that's a problem as well, because I use the chat a lot in my collabs. So that's where we are for the moment. So I'm going to chat and see what kind of feedback I can get, and then I'll let you know if there is anything else that some other place that I can upload them, where you guys will then have access to the chat as well. Because I don't know what else to do. At the moment, and I've just been naughty, I haven't deleted the recordings off Blackboard yet. So the collabs that we've had to date are still sitting in Blackboard recordings. You guys know how to find them. They are still there, but I'm supposed to have deleted them because of a space issue. But yeah.
Okay.
So at the moment,
I think what's his name? The guy I do work industrial learning with Bobby, and I think what Bobby did was he put the link on the recordings on a I think he put it on a spreadsheet, like a Word kind of document. I don't know how he did it. So you don't necessarily, it's not necessarily sitting on the Blackboard as such, but it's like sitting on another page, whereby then you access that like document or whatever it is. I'm not too sure. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that could help also with regards to space issue.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you for telling me that. Yes, I think I know what it is. I'll chat to Bobby, but that is, I always forget the name of it. Hang on, I'll tell you now what it's called. I know, I was actually looking at that just before I went online with you guys, because on OneDrive, did he create a OneDrive file for you? I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Yeah, I just don't know. But he's got a list of recordings of all like our like reports that we're doing throughout the whole course, so we can access even the ones that he did before and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. I think it's a OneDrive folder, and that's a very good idea. Then I'll just, you see, we've also been instructed this year to create that YouTube channel and upload everything there. That was something that all of the tutors were instructed to do this year. So they wanted us to move everything to YouTube, but it does have its drawbacks for the students. So if we can find workarounds, then absolutely we'll do that. So I think a OneDrive folder just means I still have to upload everything to YouTube because we're instructed to do that. But then I will create a OneDrive folder as well, and then I'll upload everything there. Yeah, I'm just wondering though, I think, let me investigate, yeah, because I think if you upload it in a OneDrive folder, I think it needs to still link to it somewhere in Blackboard. But I'll investigate with the IT people, and I'll see what my options are.
Not a problem. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Milka, for bringing that up. That's a good point. Okay. No, I understand. Yeah. Okay, guys, I have to rush now because I do have another group that I've got to go and chat to on collab. So if you've got any other questions, then just send me either a message via Learn, or you can send me an email as well. I think most of you have got that. And I'll chat to you guys again soon. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for all participating. It's been lovely to chat to you guys again, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Have a good evening.